I gotta get some more of these in different colors. Anyways, I actually came on here. Oops. So many little baby hairs. Okay. I actually came on here to apologize. Okay. I'm not like the immature, irresponsible, whatever. Everyone, I gotta wipe this off. Everybody thinks I am. Hold on a second. And just to explain, see me better that way? Okay. Just to explain the purpose, I don't know if I came back and explained the purpose, oh God, I gotta trim this, of my videos, the ones I was freaking out saying my mom used drugs and she was pregnant with me and all this other stuff. I know she didn't. I'm not saying she did. Part of why I don't communicate well is because any attempts I make to communicate, or even when they are effective in most cases, when it comes to my mother, I don't think people realize or understand. It's very difficult to get her to hear me out, but she expects me to completely hear her out and accept her constructive criticism and whatnot. So what that video actually was, the one, not the one where I'm crying and screaming. Okay. Why you gotta look so mean? Why are you trying to look all sexy? You're not trying to make me think you're sexy, are you? Because I already think you are, but you're married. Anyway. I'm live. Sorry. Guess I shouldn't be answering messages now. Anyways, that's none of your business. Anyways. Yeah. He's normal. Anyhow, the whole video that I made with me upset and crying, saying my family, as much as they defend each other, it kind of upsets me, makes me feel like I'm still alienated from my family, because they really do. They encourage and stand up for each other. They're all like, oh, well, Becky's mom's a phenomenal woman. And okay, she is, fine. So am I. And I'm not being narcissistic or selfish by asking that I receive the same praise and encouragement. I mean, it should be the same for all of us. Like I'm not saying I never got encouraged or defended when I was younger, but only for like grades and shit like that. Like I don't really remember any encouragement, or like I tell my daughter every day, I love you. You're amazing. She tells me too, Mom, you're amazing. Mom, I love you. Mom, you're beautiful. And I tell her the same things because I want her to know she's phenomenal too. And I'm phenomenal too. And so the whole point of that video where I said my mom was on drugs and I was being a little smart ass bitch. Okay, yes, I was being a smart ass bitch, but it's because I've communicated verbally everything that I was going through in California and no one seemed to catch on. I was accused of being verbally abusive to my mother and so forth when I would beg for help and they wouldn't listen. So I would get upset or have a meltdown and emotional, and friggin' everything else was overstimulating me, including emotional. Then I would freak out. I'd be like, why the fuck don't? Why do you fucking hate me? Why do you guys hate me? Why don't you guys love me? And I would scream that. And she said that was verbal abuse. I never like verbally abuse them as in telling them to shut up or calling them stupid or calling them names or assaulting them with my words. I've never been verbally abusive to them like that. I don't know what my mom's talking about. I have screamed at the top of my lungs, why do you guys hate me? I do recall calling one time when I was hearing my children being abused and beaten. And I called my parents and I said, keep your fucking hands off my kids. Keep your fucking hands off my kids. And that's not being verbally abusive. That's me going through whatever I was going through. And if it was a psychotic episode, understandably so. I was being forced to sit there and allow everyone to spank my children. And I don't spank kids. It's terrorizing to be forced to know and accept that people are abusing your children. And I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I'm sorry if you guys don't agree with my opinion that that's abuse, but I'm entitled to that opinion. I'm entitled to that opinion. I am. They were my children. And just because I could not get home because I was being controlled and abused by Jeffrey Martin Miller, being controlled and abused by the judicial system, being controlled and abused by by CPS, and all in favor of a sexual predator that wasn't any relation to me or my child, who was actually, in fact, a stalker who gave me no choice but to be his girlfriend. And everyone says, how does that work? It happens all the time. It happens all the time. What do you think gorilla pimping is? Okay? It happens all the time. What do you think sex trafficking is? It's the same thing. He emotionally abused me to the point where I did not feel safe or comfortable leaving. I did not want anything to do with that man. And nobody realizes that. And then I was forced to let him have my daughter the majority of the time. I had her 4 days out of a week while they're using these excuses saying I'm a drug addict and mentally unstable. And I was none of the above. I was having a natural, normal, mentally unstable response to a very physically and mentally unstable environment where they were mentally and physically abusing my child and mentally abusing me. So how can you cause the problem? How can they create the problem and then punish me for having a reaction to it? That's exactly what was happening. I was being deprived of my rights of my child because I was mentally unstable, because I was being terrorized by the fact that my daughter was being abused every fucking day, and I was not allowed to do anything about it. I reported it repeatedly. I went to court repeatedly. I repeatedly told them my rights and the laws and state statutes, and they repeatedly ignored them. They repeatedly violated my constitutional rights and my child's constitutional rights to be free of abuse and control and to be together. And that is the bottom line. And that is why I made that video saying my mom was on drugs, and because none of it was true. How does it feel? And when I did that, it's not even about how does it feel. Look at my sister's response. Okay, Jenny, awesome. I love you for loving mom enough to stand up for her. I do. I don't hold anything against my sister because she's just as misled as everyone else. And I accept that. I love my sister to death. I'm not mad at her for what she said. I'm mad at the whole situation because had my family stood up for me like that when I was being lied about, things would be so much different. Things would be so much different. And that doesn't make them at fault. It doesn't mean I'm blaming them. I just don't understand why I and my other daughter, my youngest daughter, are not worthy of as much encouragement and praise and defense as everyone else is. I've never, as a kid, I did the things that I did. All kids go through their little phase and with their parents or whatever, where they rebel or they lie or they steal. Or I don't lie. I don't steal. I don't tell people anything that's not their business anymore because it's always been used against me because I'm too honest. So that being said, okay, I did what I did like 10, 11 years ago. And it wasn't even 10, 11 years ago. I was convicted 10 or 11 years ago. What I did was 14 years ago in an attempt to get away from Jeffrey Martin Miller. Doesn't excuse my behavior. But I did what I did. I did 3 months in jail. I did 5 years of probation and actually only 2.5 to 3 years in probation because I was honorably discharged for complying with all the terms of my probation. I'm not a bad person. I made bad decisions because I was in a very desperate situation. I am not a bad person. And I never did anything to any specific person. What I did had to do with banks and credit, not anyone's personal bank accounts, not anyone's personal belongings. I never used anyone's identity. I always used my own identity. I fraudulently used credit cards to obtain credit. I did the time for it. I had restitution for it. I'm done with it. 14 years ago is when I did that in an attempt to get away from Jeffrey Martin Miller and be stable on my own and have my daughter back and get back to my family in Arizona. Not an excuse, which is why I paid the price. I did the time. I did the crime, so I did the time. It's all done with. I've never done it since then. I haven't done it since then. So that being held over my head is pissing me off. My parents and my family don't really know me. I haven't been around for almost 20 years. But it's not because I didn't want to be around. Only interaction they've had with me was telephonically, or I think I visited 3 times in the past 20 years. One time because Linnea's real father sent me down there to see my family for Christmas. I think Christmas or a holiday. Another time was for a funeral. And then the other time was for my son's memorial. So nobody really knows or understands me and my behaviors other than what they see when I'm pushed to the point. Nobody sees what's pushing me to the point of being so upset, I guess. And maybe that's unfair of me to do. But at this point, I've decided, okay, I love my sister. I'm not angry at her. I love my brother. He's never done anything to upset me. but I know that it's not anything that she intends to be mean or intends to hurt me. I know what my sister says is just based on what she knows and has experienced, and it's fair. She loves my mom, and I love my mom. I don't love my mom any less because of this. I'm hurt because of it, because she's not taking the time to understand. But she's still holding against me anything I've said or done in a frantic state while I was being abused. Like, seriously, I understand if you felt some of it was abusive. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mom. If you felt anything I said or said to you guys, I didn't do anything to anyone, but if you feel like anything I said to you guys was abusive, I apologize. I can't take any of it back. I can't make excuses for being abusive, but please understand, I was being abused. I was frantic. Mine and my daughter's lives were at stake. And obviously, it affected more of our family than we realize. That's all I'm asking, is that they understand that and stop holding that over my head. My mom keeps, well, okay, I don't want you to post this. I don't want you to say. I have the right to express my feelings and my thoughts about how I was raised. I'm the one that experienced that. It's my perception. And it's not only people's intentions that matters. It's what's perceived. And if the person on the receiving end doesn't express what they perceive, then the person on the giving end doesn't realize that, okay, maybe there's a flaw in your delivery. Maybe there's a flaw in your delivery, because if it's hurtful for a reason. And if it's not the flaw in the delivery, then the person on the receiving end might have some underlying issues. How do you even get down to understanding that there might be underlying issues or something else that needs to be addressed if there's not the two-way communication? You have to be able to communicate effectively. It has to be like a game of ping pong. And once someone drops the ball, the game's over and everything goes to shit. You have to continuously, effectively communicate. I am very good at communicating when the people communicating with me are just as accepting of information and able to process it and sit there remaining cool and calm and not point fingers and blame, because I've not been doing that. I've not been pointing fingers and blaming at anyone. It's everyone's fault for not listening to my son. It makes me upset because I've been suicidal repeatedly for the past 14 years. Almost all of the past 14 years, I have been suicidal for the majority of the time. People don't listen. They send you to ETS where they can give you more medication. Guess what the first symptom of 9 out of 10 psychiatric medications are? Suicidal thoughts and ideation. They're not solving anything. If anything, they're contributing to. So that is the first thing everyone does, is call the police and send me to ETS. I had one person, three people. Miss Ginny, Miss Betty, and Miss Linda. I say miss because I'm just respectful of my elders. They're just respectful, not disrespectful, but just respectful. I am respectful of my elders, and they are all older than me, so I see them as elders. Miss Ginny, they're more friends than anything. Miss Betty is like a mother to me. Miss Linda is a very good friend. Miss Ginny is a very good friend. These are all people that I live near in Indio, and they were the ones that were there for me. I was having an episode in my house. I got upset. I said, I've had enough. I slammed my fist on the table, and they must have heard me outside. They knocked on the door and I didn't answer. And Miss Ginny had a key because she was the manager of the apartments. And she said, okay, honey, I'm coming, because she knew. She had already spoken to me, and she knew that I was having issues. She knew that I wasn't a bad person. She knew that I wasn't mentally unstable and violent and dangerous like everyone keeps trying to say I am. She knew that I really needed someone to help me because my family wasn't there for me like I needed them to be, whether it was because they didn't understand or whether it was because they didn't want to understand. She didn't hold me responsible for that. She didn't listen to what my family was saying, if they were saying anything. She didn't shun me or do to me what my family did just because my family wasn't approving or helping. She didn't assume that was a reason not to. And honestly, legally speaking, she could have gotten in trouble for coming in, but I would never do that to her because she's the only person who responded in a way that actually helped me. She responded in a way that actually helped me. I had all my pills sitting on the table. I had like 6 different kinds of medications at that point. I had all of them, each in a pile on the table, and I was ready to take every single one of them. And she said, okay, honey, I'm coming in. And she came in, she unlocked the door and she came in, and they helped me. They sat down, they talked to me, and they helped me to be aware that people gave a shit. Like, they weren't trying to ship me off to ETS. They didn't call the police. They didn't call mental health. They didn't send me anywhere but next door to be with the neighbor until I felt like I was okay again. That's what we need to do for people, and stop over medicating each other. People, we need to stop pushing our responsibility as family members off on other people. Because that's what's happening. Like, really, okay, when we're frantic, when we're being hurt and abused, we're not always going to respond the right way. My family, my mom seems to have this thing about, I have to do what she wants me to do, and I have to do it the way she wants me to do it. Like, when I say things, like, I'm not a tone police with my daughter. I'm not a tone police. If she gets an attitude, okay, she's expressing herself. As long as she's still not being verbally abusive to me. Now, sometimes it gets hurtful. And that's when I have to tell her, look, the way you're acting towards me is hurtful. Like, you have an attitude towards me, like, just, and I don't deserve that. And I help her understand that. And then she usually changes her attitude. I don't sit there and lose that attitude, or you're going to punish her for having an attitude, because she's just expressing herself. I'd rather sit there and help her find a better, less hurtful way of expressing herself, and help her understand how her attitudes and her tones kind of make people feel in a fucked up way. I'd rather do that than sit there and punish her for having feelings and an attitude, because feelings and attitude convey expressing feelings through attitude is a way of conveying that there's something wrong. That's her way of conveying that there's something wrong. And all these years, I've suppressed a lot of that. And that's why a lot of people didn't know anything was wrong. That's why my son wouldn't express a lot of things and no one knew that something was wrong. Because people for so long have been so critical of us crying, been so critical of us getting attitudes, been so critical of us expressing our feelings, because we generally don't express anything except for when we're upset. And I honestly believe that's why. That's why. And by the time we're upset and expressing it, it's too much for people to handle. They don't like it, and they're offended, or they're hurt by it, or they take it the wrong way, or they think we're just saying it to be mean and nasty, and we're not. It's that we're pushed to a point that we're beyond even controlling our emotions, and we're beyond even, and it's not anger management that's needed. It's overstimulation. Like, everything is stimulating us physically, in a sense of smell, a sense of sight, a sense of touch, a sense of sound, and a sense of emotion. And people don't realize, people like me feel differently. We feel things differently. We process things differently. Like, touch like this is to me the best thing in the world. But I don't like people to touch me. Like, I don't like people to be on me. I don't like people to cuddling. Not generally anything I enjoy, unless it's like, I don't know, it has to be like a very cocoon-like cuddling. But if you're just like propped up on me somehow, sometimes I'm just like, ugh, get off. I don't like people I don't really know to touch me. I don't like people to be in my face. But at the same time, like, rubbing materials together like this feels fucking amazing to me. Like, people don't even realize. Weird, right? Weird. How'd I get into this? I'm just saying, I was in a very frantic state when I was in California, and I was not in any way intending or trying reconnecting. I don't know if I'm still live. Okay, I guess I'm still live. The connection was unstable. That being said, fudge. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes we can be perceived as being aggressive or mean or nasty, but it's really not. It's we just have certain attitudes, because sometimes we're just like, duh, why doesn't anybody get this? We don't understand why people understand each other, but they don't understand us. And our brains work a totally different way than yours does. And my mom's told me nothing's wrong with me. Well, I can guarantee you that if I go have images done of my brain imaging done, just like Temple Grandin has. Temple Grandin had brain images done, and she showed them in some of her videos. She's also autistic. But a brilliant woman, and she's very successful, and she's very confident, and she does a lot of things that we generally find hard to do. And that's the thing. As long as we can find people around us to embrace us and accept us for our differences, we can be successful, just like everyone else. But until we find that acceptance, then we're not able to be confident enough in ourselves to get out there and do the things we have to do. We're very anxious about it. We're very reserved about it. We're very uneasy and apprehensive to do things until we have that acceptance. Like, once we find our little niche or niche, whatever you want to say, everyone says it differently, then we're just, you can't stop us. And that's all I want, is to be able to do that. That's all I want, is to be able to do that. Like, I'm working right now, and technically all I'm making is like $5 an hour right now. Plus $1.38 an hour in tips. I figured it out. That's basically what I'm making. I've only worked 2 days, but I don't care. It's more money than I had just sitting here. And it gives me something to do. I have to separate what I made in wages, what I made in tips, because then I got to do I'm 1099, so I have to go do what I have to do as far as taxes goes. I've never filed taxes in my life, one time, because I've only made $6,000 my whole life, my whole existence. Like, seriously. Now I made 6,128. I mean, it's crazy. I have something to do. I feel functional. I feel like I'm actually a part of society now. Like, even though I don't even interact with people except for at work, it's good. It feels good. And then for me too, I've been so upset that I didn't go to work yesterday. It really turned on a light bulb in my head that let me know I need to explain that is what that purpose of the video was. I will be taking it down. The video that said, okay, well, my mom's on drugs, Becky was on drugs, and I was just showing her. That's what they've been doing to me all these years. Not them as in my family, but the people in California and CPS out here in Arizona. They've all been doing that to me all this time. And not one of them has any reason to believe anything they've said about me is true. I've never had a dirty drug test for CPS, not for probation, not for anybody. I don't have drug charges because I'm not a drug addict, and I never was. People drink alcohol, but they're not alcoholics unless they have a problem and it's destroying their life. Yes, I've done drugs in my life. Swift asked me that, and I said no, because it was none of their business. Have you ever done drugs? No, because every time I've admitted anything about drugs, everyone's shot me down or not locked me up, not shot me down, but everyone's used it against me. Now all of a sudden, because I've used a drug a few times in my life, I'm a drug addict, I'm a dope fiend, I'm all these other things, and I'm dysfunctional because of that. That's not what it is. They're blaming all my dysfunction that's caused from my disorder and from people abusing me on drugs and saying it's drug abuse, and that's not what it was. That is not what it was, and I'm hell-bent on proving that. I am hell-bent on proving that. I'm in Arizona. I'm refraining from interacting with anybody in California. I'm not being abused by Jeffrey Miller anymore. I have custody of my child, and it's obvious. There's a fucking 100% difference. There's a 360, a complete 360 now that I have my daughter back. A complete 360. I don't drink. If I do, very rare occasions. Maybe since I've been back into Arizona, maybe 3 or 4 times. 3 or 4 times. And I've been back since November. And that's just 1 or 2, actually 1 Four Loko each time. And that's it. Okay, I think when my friend was here, we had a few drinks with vodka in them. But I mean, we were all home. We were all responsible. My daughter's 14. She was playing her friggin' Xbox. She was stuck in the Xbox. He and I had a few drinks. And we all hung out and had fun. I mean, I think it was Christmas. No. But anyways, and that was it. Like, seriously, I don't do drugs. I quit smoking cigarettes in November. I did smoke like 1 cigarette the other day. I think day before yesterday, I did smoke half a cigarette or a cigarette, and my throat hurts like crazy now, so I don't even want to smoke another one. But I quit smoking cigarettes. I'm not doing any drugs. I don't do marijuana. I hate the fucking marijuana. It makes me feel. I tell people all the time I'm allergic to marijuana because if it makes me feel like that much out of control and that much, I'm allergic to that shit. No. If it makes me feel that awful, I am allergic to it. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with it. There's like a couple times people have been like, oh, just hit it. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. I'm cool. And just doing that is like, ugh. Fuck that shit. No. Anywho, complete 360. No more meltdowns unless I'm attacked. Or made to feel, okay, maybe not attacked, because my sister didn't attack me. My sister did not attack me. She expressed how wonderful my mom is. And I'm glad she feels that way. I'm glad she got to have that sort of relationship with my mom. I'm glad she got to see that part of my mom. But unfortunately, there's some kind of glitch in our code somewhere, and me and my mom are not able to interact in a way that I can see how phenomenal she is. I know how phenomenal she is. She's my fucking mother, okay? I know how phenomenal she is. But there are things right now that are so hurtful, and things that have happened that are so hurtful, and it helps me understand, okay, maybe their perception of the things I was going through make them feel the same way about me. And that's why I said, if they're toxic to me and if they feel like I'm toxic to them, then there really is no reason for us to interact. I don't feel that it should in any way affect my daughter. But at this point, she doesn't want anything to do with them because of the way that I'm being upset by what's going on. And she just says, fuck them, Mom. And she's not saying it to be mean. She's not saying it to be abusive. She's been with Jeffrey Martin Miller for the past 10 years. So when she says, I'm like, no, not fuck them. But I mean, we just gotta accept things the way they are and not expect too much from each other because, and as by each other, I mean us and my family. I tell her that we just have to be respectful, not expect too much from them, but still move on as a family ourselves. And hopefully her sisters will come around because they're the only really, honestly, it's not that I'm not worried about my mom and my sister, my brother. I love my mom and my sister, my brother. I don't blame my sister or my brother at all because they were raised by the same parents I was. And I'm not saying my parents did anything wrong. My parents were taught an ineffective way of parenting children. Obviously, they did great with 2, and I'm the one that didn't turn out so awesome. I'm not angry at them for that. I'm not blaming them for that, but there was a flaw in the parenting techniques. And there's no way to better ourselves unless we continue to identify those flaws and acknowledge the research that's done and stop taking it as an insult. Like that's really what's going on at this point is me saying, Mom, Dad, these are the things that happen, and this is how they affect children in their adult life. And it's everything. It describes me to a T. I don't understand why that's so insulting and so hurtful. Because I can look at my mistakes and say, hey, this is what I did wrong. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to change that behavior or try to find a more effective or more appropriate one. I don't get upset at the people that point it out to me. How dare you point out to me what I'm doing wrong? It's constructive criticism when it's accepted as constructive criticism. But if you give constructive criticism and it's not accepted as constructive criticism, it's taken as an insult, then that means that person you're talking to and being constructively critical to is not able to accept it as constructive criticism. That means there's something underlying on their side. And so that's why I'm not going to hold anything against anyone. And I understand if anyone believes that my video regarding my mother was inappropriate. It was my last attempt to help them understand what was happening to me. My mom did not do drugs when she was pregnant with me. And if she did, oh fucking well, that's her business. I'm pretty sure she didn't. I really never thought about it until I had to help everyone understand. And obviously it wasn't effective either. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Like I said, that was my last attempt to help them understand what's been happening to me all these years. And to help them see how they jump to each other's aid and defense and how hurtful that is to me because I'm still sitting here trying to figure out why didn't anybody do that for me? I'm not trying to be selfish. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be selfish, and I'm not trying to say, oh, hey, look at me. It's all about me. I want attention. No, but I see you guys stand up for each other, and I'm hurt because I don't feel like anyone ever did that for me. Like they just took everything CPS and everyone else said as the God-spoken truth, and it wasn't. It wasn't. Now, had people taken what I said about my mother in that video, she was a drug addict, she did drugs when she was pregnant with me and blah, 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 and they abused me, they were neglectful to me, you don't deserve to be my mother because you were neglectful and you abandoned me and blah, blah, blah. Had I had the credibility that they have, people would have done the same thing to my mother. Said, hey, oh, she's a horrible mom, or CPS would have got involved. But because I've been away and being abused and not in contact, and I'm only judged because I've been away. I'm only judged because I haven't been here for anyone to see or to understand. And any contact they had was the negative contact, me freaking out and them not understanding why I was freaking out and them coming to their own conclusions as to what it was causing that didn't help any. And I'm not angry. I understand that that's what we do as people. But it doesn't mean we have to keep sitting here and saying that's what the problem was, Amber. You were on drugs and you made bad choices. No. You can't take someone's children because of their choices. Choices are choices. Choices are choices. We all have the freedom to make our own choices. You can't remove somebody's children because you don't agree with their choices. That's putting a matter of opinion in between someone and their constitutional natural right to parent their children. That's illegal. That is illegal. That's a violation of someone's rights, period. Human rights. It's not just constitutional rights. It's human rights because there is a scientifically research has proven there is a biological connection between biological parents and their children, and there's a need for a child to grow up mentally healthy, for them to continue that biological connection together and not to be deprived of each other, because that's when you come up with, that's when children grow up with emotionless psychosis, narcissism, emotionless psychopathy is what it's called. Psychopathy, emotionless psychopathy, sociopathy, sociopaths and psychopaths. Everyone has a different opinion as to what makes one different from the other. They are both very, I think sociopaths are much easier to identify than psychopaths. They're very much the same, but there is definitely a difference. Jeffrey Martin Miller is a sociopath. He is a sociopath. He does have oppositional defiant disorder. He's not very intelligent, but he is very manipulative, and just because of his social status, he's able to manipulate people using his social status. He doesn't use intellect. He doesn't use, and I'm not saying he's dumb. I'm not trying to be mean. He's just not a very intelligent person or he's not a very manipulative. No, he's very manipulative. He's just not very cunning. He's not able to put together this big grandiose scheme or plot to manipulate or take advantage of somebody. It's his social interaction with other people. He becomes, I don't know where anyone would see any kind of charisma or anything attractive, because he's appalling and disgusting and repulsive to me in every level. But that's because I've been abused by him. But others seem to find him charming or funny or amusing or humorous, or I don't know what the fuck it is, but then they start to side with him. And then some of it is just his family is very established in his community, and they've managed to pull strings and get favors and manipulate people into believing them rather than to believing me, a complete stranger that nobody knew at all, that came from another state. I never did anybody dirty out there. I never did anything dirty or dishonest or manipulative or inappropriate to anybody out there. No one. So there's nothing they can say about me in California to indicate that I was a bad person ever to anyone. So that being said, I'm gonna allow my family to feel what they feel. I can't make any more effort, because when it starts, it affected my work. It affected me going to work. I didn't go to work yesterday because I was so upset and so I'm distraught over that. And the only way for me to refrain from that is to not look at any comments, not make any more videos, not let my mind go there, not pay any attention to that issue at all. That's the only way to keep it. And that's not healthy either. Really, honestly, it's not healthy. It's not healthy to have that issue in the back of my mind festering. It's better to get resolution and to come to a conclusion rather than just stuffing it back. But at this point in time, that's what I have to do until all of us are better able to approach it. And so I do apologize to my sister if I insulted her. And I do apologize to my mother if I insulted her. I never meant to be hurtful. I was just making one last attempt to help you guys understand what's been being done to me all these years. And I apparently didn't express enough how much help I needed while I was gone. And now that I finally got back on my own with help of Linnea's father, I kind of did it on my own. He kind of just, he tried to help. Anyways, he was encouraging me to come back to Arizona. He was encouraging me to, just go back to Arizona, because I think he knows, really, everyone is exacerbating everything out here, and she's getting in with wrong people out here, and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I really wasn't getting around or in contact with anyone. There were a few people I was in contact with, and the majority of them weren't bad people, but they weren't anyone that affected my life in either a negative or a positive way. I mean, I still carried on the way I carried on, and they sometimes became a little bit frustrating, sometimes became a little bit insensitive to my situation and my struggle, but it really wasn't their responsibility. So that being said, I do appreciate that they were there and they did help. Other than Miss Jenny, Miss Betty, Miss Linda, Ray was very encouraging and helpful. Supportive is what I mean to say now. But I think that's because most of our interactions refrained from even discussing or having anything to do with the struggles I was going through with that other person in India, Jeff Miller. And we didn't allow that to come into play. Like we wouldn't sit there and discuss, or every now and then I'd have something to say, or someone would say have something to say, but I pretty much refrained from having any conversations about Jeffrey Martin Miller and my child custody issues to the people that were in my life, because they are the ones that that remain there, that live there, and they still have to deal with him on a daily basis 9 times out of 10. And I accept that. I understand that. And that's why I never had any of them come to my aid in court. Like I never asked any of them to come help me in court, because they're the ones that would have to stay. I mean, they're the ones that live there. Like they have to deal with him on a daily basis. And I know how destructive and how abusive they become when you don't do what they want, or when you do anything to make them look bad. Like bring attention to their bad behavior. How dare you point out their bad behavior? Because that makes them look bad. So it's my fault making them look bad because they did something to make themselves look bad. And I brought it to everyone's attention. That being said, my family, totally different scenario. I do apologize if anyone was hurt by that. It was not my intention to hurt someone. It was a little bit spiteful, but at the same time, my whole point of the video was to help you understand this is what's been happening to me. And it's only because every other stitch effort was unsuccessful, and I was wrong for that. So I apologize. I got my shit back together, and I'm going to go to work today, and I have a VIP coming in town. It's 11:16. I got to work at 4. I don't know. Anyway, I guess I can end this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you all have a lovely day. Jenny, I love you. And I appreciate that you love Mom. And I love Mom too. And yes, she is a phenomenal person. She is a phenomenal person. But we have a communication in our codes, our errors in communication in our codes. Did I just say that? I totally said it. Okay, hold up. Sometimes I talk gibberish because my brain like speaks without me thinking about anything, and it just says what it wants. Sometimes it'll say words that are completely unrelated but sound the same, or I don't know. You've seen it over and over again in all these videos, I'm sure. Needless to say, that's the glitch in my code. My mom, okay, yes, she's a phenomenal person, but we all need to get to the point where we can effectively communicate, and you can't just expect me to accept constructive criticism, because I know for a fact there's really not a whole lot. And that's not me being narcissistic. That's not me being high and mighty and high sedity, but I'm not in any way verbally abusive. I'm not in any way neglectful. I'm not in any way a drug addict. I'm not in any way mentally unstable. I'm not in any way, shape, or form unintelligent when it comes to things I'm saying about parenting, or the things that I'm saying about mental health, or the things that I'm saying about autism, or the things that I'm saying about my disorders and my differences. I'm not uneducated about them at all. I am a very accomplished woman when it comes to my education. I've gone to several educational programs and not completed any of them but 2. One of them being alcohol and other drug counseling studies. So I am trained to be a counselor. I did not pass the test. I only passed the test to become a registered recovery worker. But the test after that, I had a huge argument with my baby's daddy the night before, and apparently I missed like 3 questions, and I did not pass the test. At least that's what they said. They wanted me to come back in and take it again. Of course, my hallucinations were telling me she's the only one that passed it 100%, and they wanted her to take it again to prove that she wasn't cheating. You can't cheat on that fucking test. You can't cheat on that test. Like 3 of the 4 answers are right. You have to choose the best one. You have to choose the best one. Anyways, those are my hallucinations speaking. My hallucinations. I don't hallucinate, folks. A lot of people that auditorily hallucinate are not hallucinating. I know this for a fact. That being said, that's it. I gotta get my ass in gear and do some shit. I'm like feeling so good about myself right now. I'm feeling so happy about my styles coming through and like actually turning into what I've always wanted to be. And I don't care what anybody says. That's right. I love you, Mom. I love you, Jenny. And I'm sorry for anything hurtful that I said. I hope that we can eventually come to a middle ground. Mutual understanding of each other. Because it does hurt. And I'm just expressing that. I'm not trying to beat down or insult or hurt anyone anymore, but it is hurtful as well for everyone to be so defensive of each other. But no one was ever that defensive of me. And it's just because you guys didn't agree with my choices. And choices are irrelevant. My choices for my life are irrelevant. I wasn't anything a lot of you thought I was. And I'm still not. So I love all of you. And I wish you well. And when you guys are ready, then you'll come around. But I'm not going to actively pursue any resolution until you guys are ready. So, again, for the millionth time, I apologize if I was hurtful. It wasn't my intentions. It was just an attempt to help you guys understand exactly what it was that was being done to me. And that's just part of it. It was just a tiny piece of that puzzle. There was so much more going on aside from that. It's obvious that I'm not psychotic. I'm sitting here every day not being psychotic. It's obvious that I'm not mentally unstable. I'm sitting here every day not being mentally unstable. I'm not taking any medications. And now that I'm working, I'm not even having to take my sleep meds. So, I mean, come on. We've got to get it together. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a fabulous day. Like, share, subscribe. Feel free to comment down below. I'll try to answer. I'm not really great with my messages and comments. I will try to be attentive. Some of you I don't get back to until like months later. And I'm sorry if I do that. That's just because I have so much going on and I'm like, I'll try. Thanks for watching. I said end. YouTube, do something about these end stream buttons. There's like 2.